this weekend, week 17 of the NFL season. It's going to be a wild one, guys. You got to think the AFC wildcard race is getting absolutely freaking hectic. Um, as of right now, you've got the Dolphins at the 5, Ravens at the 6, Browns at the 7, and the Colts are in the hunt. They got knocked out this week after blowing a 24-7 lead against the Steelers, which I still don't know how they did. Um, what are we looking at this week, boys? What do you think is the marquee matchup? I mean, I know there's a few, but who who's gonna get in? Like, it's absolutely crazy because there's so many scenarios that can happen. So many teams could get upset, and I just want to know. I want to hear what you guys think about this.
Jordan, by all
Okay.
means.
All right. I mean, just to start it off, I don't know the last time. Like, I can't remember recently the AFC being this close, and I think adding that last seed, because you most of the time you see like a bunch of 9 and 7 teams miss the playoffs, like 3 or 4, and it's always because like, and now you've kind of turned that 7 seed, that missed playoff spot, into a playoff spot, so that's why you're seeing it a lot closer. So I like that they did that because it's added so much more. Like, just it's been a lot closer, and now week 17 actually matters a lot. So Anthony, you said you run through the 7 again. I just want to make sure I have it right.
All right, so we've got Dolphins sitting at the 5. I'm actually going to note that the Titans are sitting at the 4 because I think
Okay.
that's actually pretty important.
Okay.
With the scenarios we've got. Chiefs are locked up. I think the Bills and Steelers are pretty much locked up unless something stupid happens.
Yeah.
Then you got the Dolphins at the 5. The Ravens are sitting at 6, and the Browns getting knocked down to 7 this week. So
Yeah. So I think the Steelers do have the seeding to play for, if I'm not mistaken. If they win, I believe, and the Bills lose, they flip to 2 and 3. So it's tough because the Browns put themselves in a tough spot now. Because I think that if the Steelers play their full roster, they're gonna have a hard time beating the Steelers, without a doubt.
Mason
And if
Rudolph is playing.
yeah. Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He's already playing.
Okay. So that's odd. So they're just kind of just saying they're gonna get 3. All right. So then, honestly, the Browns are probably gonna win their game. So if you give them a Browns win, that locks up their playoff spot. And then
They'll
you're looking
probably
at
stay at the 7.
yeah, and then you're looking at Miami and the Ravens
play
as the
Buffalo.
last. Miami plays Buffalo, but Buffalo is probably gonna play their starters. It's so tough because it all comes down to who plays who. You know what I mean? But I'd probably lean to say that I think Miami gets knocked out. I think the Colts get in. Because the Colts played the Steelers really tough. I think the Colts get a win in week 17, and I don't know. I don't have a lot of trust in Tua. He's had one against the Chiefs, he looked really well, really good. You know, I think he threw for like 300 plus. But other than that, even a couple weeks ago against us, he really didn't look too good. Fitzpatrick comes in for him this past week when they couldn't get anything going against the Raiders. And it just, I don't know, unless they go with Fitzpatrick in this last week, the pass catchers on Miami are pretty much non-existent when Tua is behind there, and they rely very heavily on the run. And so I think if I had to pick, I think Indy gets in. I think Miami comes out, and then I think the Ravens and Browns stay the same, and that's your AFC. So I'd have Miami as the odd team out.
Yeah, I think I gotta agree with Jordan. Like, listening to that, I think Miami is probably the worst team out of them. I think it mostly boils down to their quarterback play and their offense. Like, they're just not really ready on that side yet. I think if it was Fitzpatrick, I'd be pretty confident that they could actually make some noise in the playoffs. But they're also playing the second best team probably in the AFC, so it's definitely a little tough for them. I would like to see Indy get in just because I think they're a team that, obviously they took down the Packers. They have the potential to kind of upset you with their defense. They're very good playmaking defense. If Rivers limits his turnovers, that run game and Rivers can really, actually do some damage to you. So, like you said, Jordan, I'm hoping that we end up with Baltimore, Cleveland, and Indy. I'm not really worried about Baltimore at all. I'm like 99% sure they're going to beat the Bengals. So,
Yeah.
Same with Tennessee. I mean, they're in the 4 slot. It would kind of be very tough for them to miss it right now, miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting because, like you guys said, there hasn't really been a time in recent memory where the AFC has been this competitive. It's really it's kind of been like a dumpster fire for a good while. I think that kind of was the result of the Patriots just dominating everybody for so long. And now there's that void there. You have the Chiefs and basically everybody else behind them. But
Yeah.
it's definitely kind of refreshing, I think. But it's a very interesting race, the likes of which we really haven't seen in the AFC for a long time.
And I'll say this before you go, Anthony. If I think me and Pat would agree on this. If the Bills sit their starters and Allen doesn't play, I'd give Miami the edge because I think they would just be able to beat the Bills who aren't even playing their starters. I wouldn't necessarily say they're a better team than the Colts, but the way it's played out now that the Colts put themselves in a position where they need a loss. But if the Bills stick with their starters, which I think they will, I don't see they're on fire right now, and Miami I think is struggling with Tua behind center. So just want to point that out.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick. Do you guys think that this is for both of you? Do you think Buffalo will sit because they're on fire right now? Like, do you think they would even risk kind of losing that momentum?
So what they're at? So they're in a dead tie with the Steelers. So the only way to lose the 2 seed is if the Steelers win and then Buffalo.
Well, I think
loses.
they currently have a higher standing because their division record is one game better. But then again, if they lose this game and Pittsburgh wins, then it'll be even.
So then it's a conversation of like, do you think Mason Rudolph can beat the Browns? But like, and I don't think that's very high. So if I were the Bills, I would.
Not if Myles Garrett has anything to say about it.
But you're playing a tough Dolphins team that's also pretty hot right now, and you risk dropping a seed, and you got to see Kansas City in the divisional as opposed to the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Bills, I'm playing my starters. But if it does get out of hand, I'm going to pull Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and every key piece that they need because if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I want to see because they're obviously the clear-cut second best team, maybe the best team, or they're definitely right behind Kansas City, and that's a 1-2 matchup that we could see in the AFC Championship. So, and you're Buffalo, you beat the 3-seeded Steelers already, and you beat them I wouldn't say pretty easily, but you pretty much dominated them. I don't think the score really showed it, but they pretty much dominated Pittsburgh, and why not get that matchup in the playoffs again at home? I mean, I think they were home.
Sure.
Yeah, that's when the whole Juju thing started when he danced on the Bills logo. But why not? Like you're gonna end up seeing Kansas City in Arrowhead anyway. Why not be the AFC Championship?
Yeah.
So that's the only argument I have for Buffalo starting their starters.
And they play at the same time, so they're both 1:00. So if I'm the Bills, I'm looking at that Steelers Browns game very closely. If the Browns start pulling ahead, I'm yanking everyone because there's no reason if the Steelers lose, you get the 2 seed no matter what. The only reason you're playing is if that game stays close. So
right, I wouldn't even risk if you know the Steelers are going to lose, like then by all means pull everybody. But otherwise, like I'm trying to get that 2 seed because I'm trying to hold off playing the Chiefs as long as possible. I forget who I heard saying that. There was some broadcaster saying, like, try to stay away from them as long as possible. Maybe hope somebody else beats them, but then you get into the AFC Championship. That's your ideal matchup.
And it's kind of funny because the Dolphins would benefit from a Steelers loss because then if the Steelers started getting blown out, the Bills would pull their starters, which would make it easier for the Dolphins to win. But if the Browns beat the Steelers, or if the Steelers beat the Browns, Dolphins gain a game on the Browns, and they're more in a better position for the playoffs. So they're almost rooting.
Winning in?
Yeah, the Dolphins, if they win, they're in.
Okay.
But if the Browns lose,
Browns.
so it gets really complicated. If that Steelers and Bills game, or
So
Steelers, Browns, and Dolphins, Bills are important.
I think the only team that needs help technically would be the Colts. I don't think they control their own destiny. I think everybody else does.
Yeah.
So the Colts get in with a win and any of those teams losing, correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, so and the Colts play at...
The one team that would probably lose would be Miami or the Browns. I mean, the Colts have a pretty easy matchup. They're playing the Jaguars.
Don't count out the Ravens here. Now, listen, I might sound crazy, but we remember what happened a few years ago when the Ravens and the Browns squared. This is where my mind runs crazy when it comes to Week 17 because Buffalo needed the help because I think Baltimore...
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I think this was when the playoffs when we played the Jaguars in the AFC Championship. And Buffalo needed the Bengals to beat the Ravens to get in. Baltimore won, they were in. And they ended up losing that game. I remember watching that, and Buffalo went absolutely crazy.
It was on like a last-second play, too.
Yeah, and this is where my mind goes wild. The Jaguars right now have the number 1 seed locked up. They are not playing for a single thing. they're playing their division rival, the Indianapolis Colts, at home, where the Jaguars have fans there. I know in Florida they're allowed to have an X amount of fans in the
There's no
stadium at a
rules in
time.
Florida.
Pretty much, Florida.
It's a wasteland.
You've heard of the Florida man. So, I mean, the Jaguars. Listen, they're not a good team. I'm not saying they are, but what if it's their division rival? So why not try and knock your division rival out of the playoffs? The Jaguars
because
are
they
gonna
already
throw,
have the 1 seed locked or the 1 pick locked up too.
the
Yeah.
Jaguars are going to throw everything they've got at the Colts just to try and keep them out of the playoffs. So that's where it could get crazy. That's just me though, and then it all depends on who starts who in the Steelers and Bills games. I don't know. It's going to get absolutely hectic.
And we'll know the importance of that game because that one's at 4:30. So we'll know and it's at
Which one's at
4:25.
4:30?
So the Colts Jaguars game. Every other game before that, every game of importance, the Ravens game, Steelers game, is all at 1:00. So we're gonna know before that Colts game starts if the Colts have a chance. If any of those teams lose, then the Colts are in a prime position to get in, or the Jaguars are in a prime position to spoil. So
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts.
it's gonna be nuts.
And
Yeah.
I think another one we were talking about before we started rolling here is the Titans could get knocked out. They have nothing locked up yet. I think what was the scenario? Who was saying it?
I think if the Titans lose and the other 4 teams win, then the Titans are booted.
Yeah, because if the Colts win, they go 11-5. Titans drop to 10-6. They take the division, and then the Titans would go into the mix of wild card teams. And at that point, with 6 losses, everyone else has 5. So yeah, you're right, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they play the Texans this week, and who knows what this Texans team is like. Deshaun Watson could pull out some miracle.
After
So-
J.J. Watt's angry speech the other day.
Yeah, that Texans team is fired up right now.
Yeah. And that one's at 4:32. So that one in the Colts game, it could come down to who wins the division with those games.
Have red zone
So-
turned on, folks.
Yeah, get your red zone
It's gonna be
subscription if you haven't
wild.
got it
It's
yet.
gonna be the best one